It's the 10-year anniversary of me having this channel on YouTube, and it has taken me 10 years to finally get to 1,000 followers. And I'm gonna tell you why I think that is, what I probably did wrong. But let's make a dress to celebrate finally hitting 1,000 followers, and for 10 years of work, let's sew something and talk about it. I am going to try to decide on a sewing pattern while we chat. So I'm gonna look at sewing patterns and let's kind of discuss my journey and what you might want to do differently and what the next goal is that I'm trying to reach. I actually have been on YouTube far beyond 10 years. I had a different channel that was my professional channel. I would upload videos that I did for the job that I worked at and also for freelance. So I have a degree in digital filmmaking and a minor in writing, and so I have worked professionally since I graduated in 2007. So that's when I started working full-time, and before that I had school projects, side projects, fun projects that I would do, and I would upload those videos. I have been in the YouTube space quite a while. I'm not gonna say since it began, but pretty close to the beginning of YouTube. 10 years ago this year, at the beginning of this year, I started Marla Plain and Small YouTube channel because I was a new mom, stay at home. I'd just been at home for a few months. And so I had gone from creating every single day for a living as a paycheck, because I also 2 years prior to being a stay-at-home mom had a brick and mortar store where I was sewing, making handmade items, selling other people's handmade items, and I would wake up every day and create. And then I was home and my baby was still in that stage where the babies sleep a lot and not at night, so I was sleep deprived, but during the day she would sleep, and I had time to kind of create, and I thought this would be a really good outlet for me. So for years previous to starting this channel, I had a blog, and my blog was Marla Plain and Small. So I thought a YouTube channel would be a good way to add to my blog. So my blogs could be more than just photo tutorials or written recipes, but I could actually also have some videos and also just this online community. So if you go back and look for my videos, most of them are going to be gone from that long ago, because I really started just doing get ready with me videos. Those are really popular at the time. I really enjoyed watching them and I liked making them, and they weren't anything fancy. It was like an old iPhone. Sometimes I used the camera on my laptop. I mean, really low quality, but it was using what I had because I had zero budget to work with. And I didn't have a lot of time to set up lights. I didn't even own lights personally. When I left that filmmaking job, I didn't have anything to bring with me. So I couldn't like set up a studio. It was also, what could I do in a 30-minute time while my baby slept? And I thought, well, I can get ready for the day. And so that's what some of that was. And then I started adding in tutorials and sewing and cooking and things. So I've taken a lot of that down because I don't feel like it's reflective of where my channel is now. And I don't want to confuse people with what this channel is. And so I've removed most of that stuff. Also, I'm new to bangs. I haven't had bangs in several years. And also, one, they're dirty. And two, I'm adjusting, and I've slept on them a couple nights, so they're wanting to do this. So I don't mean to be distracting with my hair, but it is wash day and my bangs are not cooperating. And let's get to what I think I did wrong. So I think I did 2 things wrong and 2 things that kept me from growing. The first is I was not consistent, and that really is because just the phase of life that I'm in as a mother, and also I do have other side businesses that I'm trying to do to bring in a little bit of income to pay for things like piano lessons for my kid. And so I am spread thin, and I did not have the time to dedicate to this. And so I think to be successful on YouTube that I've seen, again, you know, I'm not an expert. I have 1,000 followers and I've been here a decade. But from what I've seen and the advice that I've seen people put out there is you have to be consistent. And I have not been consistent. I have been consistent with shorts, and I'll talk about that later. But I have not been consistent with a longer format video. And that's because I just have not had the time to put into it. I have so many ideas, but I have not been able to commit the time to that. And that is just where I am in life. And I think sometimes we need to accept we can't do everything. And when we try to do everything, something's got to give somewhere. And this has been the thing that's had to give for me. So consistency is, I think, the number one issue that I've had with growing this channel. Do I want that to change? Yes. But I'm still trying to be realistic about where I am in life right now. I do have 2 kids. I have to know what my limitations are right now. Second thing I think that I did wrong was my content was all over the place. I just wanted to be seen as me, Marla, and I have lots of interests and lots of layers to me, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna post me and people should be interested in me. And that's not really how content works. So I did Get Ready With Me. I did a little bit of book content that was mainly over on my blog. My blog was like everything, and I haven't been doing the blog for a couple years now. But I also had been remodeling a 71 Volkswagen, and I got a lot of followers from that. But when I stopped posting that, I lost those followers. Because I no longer have that Volkswagen, so I can't continue to create content about remodeling a car I do not possess any longer. So I had that car content. I have a 77 Triumph Spitfire. That was my first car that I still have. I posted a little bit of content about that. And then I would do crafting, home remodeling, sewing. I think I was too varied, so people that would come to my channel and find me because of Volkswagen videos had no interest in my sewing, and people that were here for sewing had no interest in remodeling an old car. I think it just was dividing the type of people that would come to my channel, and I think if they would subscribe because they were interested, but then when my videos started coming up and they thought, well, this isn't what the channel, not what I thought this channel would be, they might unsubscribe or just not follow at all. So I think that I just divided the interest a bit too much. So I decided to make Marla Plain and Small, the crafting and remodeling, I call it hobby channel, and my little tagline for most of my socials is I have lots of hobbies. So if you come here, you know, these are about hobbies. So sewing, crocheting, knitting, remodeling my 1945 craftsman home, occasional food recipes, but really this is a hobby channel. And so if you're into trying different types of hobbies or doing some DIY, then this channel is for you. And I really had to narrow that focus. So it still allows me to be varied and allows me to try different things, but it's much more focused. So that would be the advice that I would have. Be consistent, be focused. So what are my goals moving forward? Well, my goal is to be able to monetize. And here's the thing about that. This channel was monetized. Again, when you're so far back into YouTube, it used to be you got to a certain threshold and you monetized on your videos. There were people that came along that started abusing the YouTube monetizing and were making a lot of money, and YouTube had to basically cut everybody off until they made a certain amount. You had certain restrictions put in place, and so I made about $50 off of YouTube, and then it got cut off thanks to certain creators out there. And if you remember that journey, you may have gone through the same thing. And so that was really disappointing. And that was one reason that I kind of thought, I didn't give up, but it was pretty discouraging, and it did not make me want to pursue YouTube as much as pursuing Facebook and so on. So I would like to monetize, and here is the thing. I have finally hit the 1,000 subscriber threshold, which I am so thankful for because it has taken me a decade to get here. And I know that might seem pathetic to some people who can get that within a month to a year. But I don't feel pathetic about it. I know how much work has gone into it, and I know how much I've had to put this on the side for so many other things in life. I now have to either get 3,000 hours of watch time on my long format videos, or I have to get 3 million views on shorts. And I don't feel like the 3 million views is going to be attainable for me. So that means I've got to get 3,000 watch hours within 365 days to be able to start monetizing. If you want to help me out a little bit and watch some videos, I appreciate that. But I'm just being open and honest in case you're not there yet and you're wondering, what does it take to monetize? That is what YouTube is telling me right now that I have to do. I've hit the 1,000 mark. I now have to get 3,000 hours of watch time. And I feel like that's a lot, especially because my videos aren't 45-minute long videos. They're on the shorter side. So that also means I've got to create long format videos. The thing about shorts, I don't think I'm going to get to that 3 million because I think that's pretty difficult unless you just have several viral videos. The thing about shorts is, though it may not be helpful in getting me to that monetization stage, it did help me get to this 1,000 follower stage, because at a stage of my life that I did not have time to make these long videos, I did have time to do shorts because I was already uploading them on all of my other social channels. So I knew if it was a good fit for YouTube, I was going to go ahead and load it here. And that's what got me from the like 500 to 700 followers up to the 1,000 were my shorts. And so if you are looking to grow and you're really struggling to have time for longer videos, I've seen a lot of videos that say, don't do shorts, it's not going to help you grow. That is how I grew over this I would say the last year and a half is where I started growing. So shorts did help me grow my subscriber count.
I'm going to sew the Enel dress by Vicky Sews. I got this on Etsy. You can also get it from their website. So the first thing you have to do with these PDF patterns that you print off at home, you have to lay everything out, tape it together, and then of course sew it. This isn't my favorite part. I don't love doing this process. I would love to go buy a pattern at the store and cut it out. The upside of online patterns is usually the price, the variety of options, and supporting independent and small businesses. One thing I usually have to do with dress patterns is I have to grade the size, because my top size is usually a size smaller than the bottom size. So if you're making pants or you're making just a top, you may not have to do this, but if you're like me and your size varies from top to bottom, you may want to grade. So that means I'm going to find the measurements for my upper bust. I usually find the measurements for my full bust, and then I'll find the measurements for my hips, and I will grade those sizes. So I'll go from a smaller size in the bust to a larger size in the hips, and use a ruler to help grade between those sizes and cut out to that. This is my lining fabric. It is 100% cotton fabric I used to create a quilt for my first daughter, and I had quite a bit left over, and I thought, okay, this would be a nice fabric that I already have in stock, so I'm not having to go out and buy anything, and I use it up. So I went ahead and I first cut the lining, and I put it all together, sewed it together in order to see if the size was correct. And then you can see here me trying it on and seeing, okay, did I cut the right thing before I cut into my shell fabric? And at first sight, it looks like, okay, yeah, this might work. I do see a few issues, but maybe this will be the right size. And one thing that I do is I cut my lining fabric a little bit smaller than the pattern for my outer fabric, and so it will fit a little closer to my body. This is my outer shell fabric. I bought it at Hobby Lobby. It is a toweling fabric. It's polyester. It does feel a little bit like a towel on the outside. It's not rough. It's very soft. It's very lightweight. It has some stretch to it. I love the flowers, but as you can see when you hold it up to the window, it is see-through, and that is why I decided I was going to need a lining.
Okay, it is day 2. Just ignore this whole thing going on here. And this is how far I got with it yesterday. I got everything done except these straps will be attached to the back once I decide where I want them to come. It calls for understitching, which I did, but the lining still wants to roll out. So I think I'm gonna do some top stitching so that the lining stays inside and doesn't try to come to the outside. I need to hem it, but here's the thing of why I'm not moving to those next steps yet. It's so much bigger than what I want. And I've made this company's pattern, I've made a pattern from this company one other time. It was also a dress, and I followed the measurements. I looked at the ease, and it wound up being so big. It was the strawberry dress that I'll link in the description, and I wound up taking it up so much to the point that next time I make it, I'm gonna have to see which pattern size corresponds to what my final product wound up being. It was just very, very large, much larger than what is shown in the picture. Yes, this is supposed to be flowy and similar to like a trapeze style dress, but this is beyond what I'm comfortable in. Also, my fault for picking a fabric and a lining that stick to each other. I thought a cotton lining would be more cooling, considering that the shell fabric is a polyester that's not overly breathable. So I thought doing a cotton lining would help with that. But the cotton and the polyester, the toweling fabric, are sticking to each other. I mean, it's big. But since there's not a zipper or button closure or anything, it needs to be big enough to slip on and off easily. So I think I'm gonna leave it in the bust because once the straps are attached, it's big. I even tucked it in the back and did like this little pleat in the back to take it up. I've got several inches that will just gape open. And so right now I have on a sports bra, like a lounge bra, but even with a strapless bra, I'm afraid you're gonna see it. So I'm kind of frustrated. Okay, I don't want to make any rash decisions. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna take my lunch break. I haven't had time to sew in a really long time. And I actually have time to sew today. Today is my last day. I won't be able to sew any other days this week. I have some projects I'm working on that I've got to go out and do. I'm thinking of cutting the lining, keeping it in there to just leave it as a facing. So basically, you know, coming down to like here and around so that there's not anything unfinished on the outside. And then not having anything here. And then for the bottom, so that it's not see-through, I either have to wear this slip or something that will not stick to the toweling. Okay, the lining, it has to go. I'm not gonna do it right now because I'm a little frustrated and I need to walk away from this. So I'm gonna go fix lunch for me and my daughter. I let her turn something on for a little bit because I was like, let me get back in here. So I let her turn on Sophia the first. So I'm gonna go get her, spend some time with her, eat some lunch, and really like let my brain think about this and work over this. But I'm pretty sure that means that lining has got to go. That's so much, but it's bunched up here. But look, so much better. Is it see-through? I don't know. We have a slip on. All that work. Well, I learned my lesson with which fabrics to combine and which ones not to. I should have known better. I wasn't thinking. I just thought, use what you have, make it work. It didn't work, so undo it. I have cut to where it's just a facing. I did it with pinking shears. I need to go back and finish it off with the serger. And I have hemmed the bottom, so I just first I just serged the edges and then folded it over, used my sewing machine to hem it. I need to take the pins out, and then eventually when my husband is home, I will try it on and have him help me pin the straps into place where I think they should go to adjust the length. The interesting thing is this pattern actually said not to use stretch fabrics or anything with a lot of drape. So two things about that. First, if I had just used, you know, like cotton like this or something woven instead of like a stretch or a knit, then you would still have to be really loose to get it on and off unless you did some type of closure or zipper situation. So this fabric isn't the issue here because it having a little stretch makes it a little easier to slip on and off. So that's one, I think, kind of flaw with the pattern and something they don't show in the photos. And I didn't really think about it when I bought the pattern, is if you're going to use the fabric suggested, it has to be oversized and gaping in the back to slip it on and off. This I can even slip down over my hips. My hips are wider than at my top, so you either pull it over, it will even, you know, not having to pull it over my head, I can even just slip it down. That's even with me taking inches off of each side. So that's kind of a thing to think about with this. The second thing is, yes, I used a fabric they said not to use, a stretch, but I think it actually drapes nicer, and they said don't use something with the drape. But I think it falls better on the body, whereas using this cotton had this, like, it stuck out like a triangle. And not in a way that, like, oh, it's a trapeze dress with movement. It just was like out at the sides, almost like a cartoon stick figure drawing. Okay, the dress is finished, and I made a pretty big change, or I made a change to the back so that it wasn't gaping, and it fixed it, and I love the way that it turned out. I filmed the footage and made the dress back in March. I wore it for the first time in June. It is now July, so I've had a month to wear it and see if there's anything that needs to change. I think it's good as it is, so I'll show you the finished product, and we'll kind of talk about some things I would do different next time, and then of course the changes I made in order to fix the issues that I was having with the fit. I love the color, I love the look of the fabric. I wear a black skirt slip underneath and it's not see-through, and then I wear a flesh colored strapless bra, and that has not been see-through. What I did for the back is I added a channel of thick elastic, and I can't remember the size, but it's a thick elastic at the back so that it would cinch in. It would stretch so that I could get it on, but then it would cinch to my back so there wouldn't be any type of gaping, and that fixed the problem. And I like the way it looked because it also cinched together what I thought was a little bit too flowy. It helped tighten it up and help it drape a little bit better. The fabric, the facing of the cotton fabric on the inside sometimes does want to curl to the outside, so that would be something I would do different as far as the lining fabric choice. And then also the dart is not placed where it needs to be for my bust. It's placed actually below my bust, and it would need to move up, and I think instead of moving just straight up and being horizontal as it's shown and as it's made, it's a very horizontal bust. It needs to be more at a diagonal to come up to the bust peak. So that's something I would need to change if I made this again. The length is good. It could be maybe a little bit longer if I wanted to not have to be so careful about bending or things like that. But for my height, I'm 5'1". I don't think I took it up any more than it called for. So if you are someone that's taller, you definitely want to buy the taller pattern. This was a petite pattern, so the length was made for someone my height. You'll see that whenever I made the strap, one strap fits perfectly into the edge. The other one, it's my own fault, got off a little bit, and so there is a little space between the top edge of the dress and then where the strap wound up. So that was something that wasn't perfect that I need to pay extra careful attention to next time. One strap perfect, the other strap not so much. Moving the bust dart and adding the elastic channel would be the main things. I think I could cut the same graded pattern that I created and be fine with it. I don't think I would need to go down a size necessarily. Sometimes I find that it does make the dress ride up and I have to keep pulling it down, and I think it's because it's trying to set the dress, the bust dart is trying to set where it should be, and so the dart is riding up, and so that really should be something I should change next time. And it really has turned out to be a great summer dress. It's really cute. I think you can dress it up or dress it down. I'm really happy with it. I just needed to learn my mistakes from the lining choice that I made, and then kind of the quirks. And a bust dart it's not only this pattern. Very often with patterns, you need to adjust things to your measurements because we are all very different in our measurements. And so it's a very standard size that patterns are made. And so adjusting a bust dart is not necessarily a flaw of this pattern. It's just one of those things you have to do when you start sewing and making clothes. You have to make things adjust for you. And since I hadn't actually made this before, I didn't know the adjustments I would need to make, and that's why I'm learning through this. But I like making wearable tulles, and that's a really hard word for me to say as a Southerner. A garment that you make in order to understand how to best make the pattern and how to adjust it. So if I had really expensive fabric, I would have maybe been more disappointed. But since this was an affordable fabric and using fabric I already had, I just considered this as, okay, I'm gonna make the pattern into something that I actually can wear out of the house. I don't like making something, spending all the time, because I don't have time. My time is very valuable. And so I don't want to spend my time making a garment and working out all the kinks to then not be able to wear the thing I just spent all that time on. I would rather it still have a few kinks and I learned from it, but I can wear it out. And so this is my wearable tool. Thanks for going along on this roller coaster ride of making this dress in order to celebrate 10 years on YouTube, 10 years worth of work and time, and to celebrate 1,000 followers. Thank you so much for subscribing, for following along, for engaging with my content, for allowing me in this phase of life to mainly upload shorts and have an occasional long format video like this that often is very chatty because it's me taking the time I can to create content. And I hope that it's useful to you. I hope it encourages you to create. I hope it gives you ideas. Or if you have no interest in sewing, but you can maybe just sit back and watch somebody else sew something, I hope that also can be satisfying to you. So again, thank you so much for 10 years and for all the follows, and I'll see you soon with more content.